Tamino, welcome to FluxFM. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
for taking
me,
your
man.
time. Your new album, Every Dawn's a Mountain. I was actually left a little speechless when listening to it. I had the same kind of experience when back when I listened to Sahar for the first time in 2022. Like, just really floored me. And yeah, I already thought, okay, maybe is there some kind of connection between these two albums? Because Sahar, if I remember correctly, is like the end of the night, the start of the day, or something like that. So basically dawn, and now Every Dawn's a Mountain. Did you want to build a connection between these two albums?
Yeah, I thought about that for sure. But funnily enough, the song came prior to it being the title track. So when I wrote Every Dawn's a Mountain, I remember it being a pretty special moment. You know, some songs, they come in a feeling, and then it takes quite a while to mold it into a song, into something that works. But this one came all at once. It was like a full day of writing it, and then it was done, basically. Yeah, that line stood out to me. That's why it's the title of the song, and that's why in the end it became the title of the record. I did think for a minute, like, should I avoid it? Because my last record was called Sahar, which sort of roughly translates to Just Before Dawn. And then I thought, no, actually the connection is quite beautiful. Just Before Dawn, and then Every Dawn's a Mountain. And it wasn't premeditated. Funnily enough, it felt like most songs, I guess, felt like a gift in a way.
What is that, like, what kind of feeling are you searching for? Because you mentioned Every Dawn's a Mountain when you wrote that song. It was like a really special feeling. What is this feeling that you're searching for in general when you're writing a song? What are you looking for to say, okay, this is a special song, this is a song that I'm going to chase and pursue writing to the end because this needs to be finished?
It really is all about a feeling. It's really all about what initial spark leaves the biggest mark on you, I guess, and just doesn't let you go. It could be something as simple as a riff you're playing. There's like this one song on the album called Raven, and that riff on the oud was just something I kept on playing for years, actually. I molded that into a song during the writing of this album. So it could be something as simple as a riff. It could be a lyric. It could be a melody. What follows is the struggle, I guess. Like, those initial sparks feel like gifts, and then it's like, okay, now I really gotta put the work in. And even that feels like you can never really fully call it a craft because you're relying on so many little gifts in that process. Yeah, it's a very mysterious process still, and I think it will always be, and that's probably why I love it so much and why it's sort of, so satisfying.
Mm-hmm. Almost like a relationship between two people, like there is the initial spark, but you still have to put in the work to get it done, to make it work in general.
Yeah, that's a good parallel, yeah.
Your lyrics have something really magical about them, at least to me, because to me, you're not only telling stories, but what almost feels like legends, I would say. It feels really grand. Something about the lyrics just give that away. Maybe words like, you use words like fountain, blood, blades, western prairie. It really opens up a whole lot for the imagination. Do stories like books and stuff like that have influence on your music?
Yes. If we're talking about like mythology and stuff and legends, that's probably the earliest form of storytelling that fascinated me. I remember there was like this sort of thing we had to do for school, like a little presentation. I chose Greek mythology and I was like 8 years old. So I think there's many people who can relate to that. You know, it's like, I mean, it is quite fascinating. And I think it's maybe because there's some sort of a metaphysical truth in there. And these stories speak to us, you know, beyond the chains of their time. You know, it's like, in a sense, because of their reaching for truth, that's why they survive time, I guess. And maybe that's what I'm trying to do. But I think in general, I love timelessness in most of the stuff I like. Maybe the best works, though, are the works that do reveal something of the times in combination with the timelessness. Like that's maybe when you're hitting gold.
I want to talk about two songs specifically in a moment, but first of all, listening through the album, I came to my own conclusions, thinking like, okay, I feel like this album is like the realization of, you know, you build something up and it will fade eventually. Like it's destined to just go at some point. To me, which is a very beautiful thing to know, because with that realization comes sort of freedom, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Was this like the kind of concept that you had in mind for the record?
It was just the actuality of my life, and that resulted into these songs. And then it resulted into a cohesiveness and maybe a density that might feel conceptual. I do think it's my most cohesive record to date. But it's interesting that you say, there's some freedom in there, because it's true. There's something about, letting go. Maybe the album could be interpreted as like this journey into letting go. That's how it feels like to me. First song is sort of a prologue. Second song, Babylon, is like where we start our journey. We travel down to Dissolve, which is sort of the real last song in a way to me. And we dissolve into the new. And then Amsterdam feels like a last goodbye, like an epilogue sort of thing.
Like I just mentioned 2 songs that I want to talk about a tiny bit more. And one of those songs is actually the opener, my Heroin. Like first listen, I was immediately like hooked. I was okay, this is going to be good. And I'm intrigued to know, first of all, who is your heroine? And secondly, why do you call her heroine when she's, at least when I look at the lyrics from the song, maybe not good for you, because you're talking about kissing the blade, you missed the pain, bites in my skin. So something that is not good for you, but you still call her your heroine. Why?
The answer is in your question. It's like you're describing addiction. I think that's pretty much what the song is about. I like how clear it is in its comparison, I guess, between, it's a wordplay, isn't it? Heroin, hero versus heroin, the drug. Addiction comes in many forms, it's like it could be a substance, but it could also be a person, or it could be the idea of a person, it could be the idea of love, the idea of what someone needs to represent in your life. And what's often the case with addiction is that we know it's bad for us. We know it's bad for us, and still we are drawn to it nevertheless. With that song, I'm not necessarily thinking about like one person, it's just love, the female hero. As a concept.
The second track that I wanted to talk about a bit more specifically is one that stands out quite a lot because it's the feature with Mitski, Sanctuary. It is a faster paced song, or faster paced actually than the other tracks. It got more of a grand feel, also because like this full band playing on this track. What is the story behind Sanctuary?
Mm-hmm. That's funny. Like it's still not too fast, right? But
Absolutely
for
not.
my world, it's
absolutely
like,
not.
yeah. It's the fastest I will go. Yeah. So this is pretty much the only song that I co-wrote from scratch, like with a dear friend of mine called Alessandro Bucciolati, and he and I met on the streets of New York. Yeah, it's one of those encounters that makes you lose your belief in coincidence. But it was only like about 2 years later that we started actually making music together. And this was one of those like important moments where we wrote this song in about a day. And then the day after I wrote the lyrics and sent it to Mitski, who was supposed to come to the studio 2 weeks later and sing on another song I had written. But we were both sort of like questioning that song, like maybe there's a better one, maybe I could write a better one. And then when we wrote this one, I was very happy with it. I sent it to her. She was excited about it. And then it just felt like the right one, because of its origin, because it's written in collaboration, and because there's another person singing on it. It feels like a little bit of an outlier on the album, but nevertheless, it feels like essential to it. Like I feel like if you would take it away, take it out of the album, there would be something missing. I feel like these 10 songs are very carefully put together, very carefully chosen, and even the track listing was such a challenge. That was, funnily enough, one of the most challenging things about the record was when it was finished, just the order of songs. Somehow it just made me very insecure, just made me feel like if I messed it up, it would ruin the record. And I needed the perfect order. And I really questioned it so much. It's crazy. But I'm in the end, I'm very, very satisfied with how it turned out.
For sure. For the last section of the interview, I wanted to go a tiny bit into just like sonic elements or your sound in general. Because speaking of origins, obviously something that you embrace quite a lot in your production style are your origins, basically. Like, for example, the oud that you use quite frequently and which is such a fantastic instrument and such a beautiful sound that ouds can create. But how would you describe maybe the DNA of your sound?
It's obviously sort of rooted in folk in a way, in like, that's sort of a style that I've definitely adopted. I love the idea of folk and its timelessness again as well there. But in terms of like the colors that I use, I guess I love contrast in general. Like I love like a lot of the tracks, they will have a lot of noise, for example, going on. Like there's it might be subtle here and there, but there's a lot of like soundscapey stuff and noise, and like it's subtle enough to not distract you too much from the song, but just does something to make it more layered. Yeah, it just keeps it away from being too one-dimensional. Like for a song like Sanctuary, that was a very important thing where I felt like, it just has to be the right balance because it cannot be too sweet, if that makes sense. Concerning my origins and everything like that, like it's funny because like so far, especially the first record and everything, there was a very big focus on my identity. It overruled the music. Like and I get it because it's also like an introduction of an artist, and it's a very different time in an artist's career. But I've always felt a little uncomfortable with that because I feel so much like a student. I'm so much a student of my origins because I didn't live them fully. I didn't grow up in Egypt. I don't speak the language. There's so many things that I feel like I'm a student of, and I'm trying to understand it. Some of it seeps into my work. I do think that's a beautiful thing, but it does not make me an expert. I'm still that student, it's like I'm still all figuring it out. And the oud, I just feel just comfortable enough to start, on the second album, I felt just comfortable enough to start playing it on a record. But I know that every 2 years, I'm going to look back and be like, oh my God, then I didn't really play it that well, because I will have learned so much more in every time. It's like a continual road of discovery for me.
For sure. I mean, and again, I feel like there is also in that like beauty, because you look back on it and you really can see and hear and feel how you evolved over the years. And again, in a few years, you will look back on your songs and be like, maybe I could have done better, or maybe I could have done that differently. But it's still gonna have its own beauty. It's like looking at your own photos from childhood or something.
Yeah,
you're like,
what was I wearing? Yeah.
My taste of styling wasn't that great back then, but well. Tamino, thank you so much for the interview. Thanks, man. That was amazing.
No, this was lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.